Dear student, and I hope you are doing well. Since I'm not available in this session, I'm going to pre-record this session, and it is going to be available on Core Campus under announcements. So the recorded links are going to be available there, and I hope you will find time to go through what I'm going to discuss in this lesson. So we are going to be looking at the consumer decision-making process. But before we do that, let's do a recap of what was done last week. So last week we spoke about segmentation, and we also discussed the F3. So since you are also not in class last week, the briefing for F3 has been uploaded on Core Campus, and I highly encourage you to go and have a look. It's clearly highlighted as an F3 so that students don't struggle to look for the briefing. So I do encourage you to go through the F3 and what is it that is required of you in terms of how to act and respond to the tasks that you have been given. So you realize that the F3 is an individual physical presentation whereby you need to be physically available in class, and it's going to take place at Flumen Bryanston, and I hope you are going to attend. So that's what we discussed in lesson 32 last week. So at the end of this session, you should be able to understand the consumer decision-making processes. You also need to be able to understand buying situation, and you need to know the stages in the decision-making process. So with this lesson, we're only going to discuss two stages in detail, which is problem recognition and search for information. Then in the next lesson, which is this lesson 34, we are going to unpack the remaining three steps in the decision-making process. If there are any questions, if there are any comments, do not hesitate to contact me. So these are the key terms that we are going to come across as this lesson progresses. So, of course, the main concept that we need to discuss and unpack is consumer decision-making. Then we've got customer demand, we've got behavior, we've got self-concept, we've got attitude. Behavior, self-concept, and attitude, we discussed these terms last semester. So I've got an activity. These activities are always helpful, especially when there is one-on-one discussion in class. So during your spare time, I'd like you to outline the decision-making process you have gone through to purchase and consume a certain product. So realize that in marketing, most of the stuff that we learn, we can always relate to them because we are consumers ourselves. So this module is all about consumer behavior. And we can always understand consumer behavior better as we are also consumers ourselves. So most of the aspects that we cover, we can always relate to them, to all the journeys that we go through as consumers. Whenever you identify a need, maybe you are thirsty and you need some carbonated drink to go through your throat. There are some decision-making processes that you undertake. So would like to hear from you what steps or what are your thoughts whenever you think of getting something. So it's not only thoughts, but actions as well. So what are your thoughts and actions whenever you are getting something? So realize that brains do consider consumers' thoughts, do consider consumers' actions whenever they are about to get their products and services, so that we can come up with marketing strategies, or we can produce content that is more aligned with their thoughts and their actions. You also need to discuss why it is necessary for brands to know and understand consumer decision-making processes. So I've just mentioned that one. So let's now take a deeper look at the consumer decision-making process. We continuously make decisions about what product to consume, and there are two fundamental reasons why we must make decisions. So this applies to everyone. The first fundamental reason is that we must satisfy our needs and desire. So we are surrounded with needs. We discussed this last semester as well. You know, we have got needs, things that we cannot survive with, such as food, such as clothing. So one or the other, you need to make a fundamental decision, because when it comes to clothing, because you cannot just wake up naked and doing nothing about it. So you need to ask yourself, what kind of a cloth must I wear, for what occasions, whether it's appropriate, whether it aligns with my culture, whether it aligns with my style, and so forth. Then the second reason is that frequently more than one choice or alternative will satisfy our needs. So you also need to realize that there are so many choices out there. So even if you want clothes, you know, to satisfy your need of covering your body or having enough warmth, you're still surrounded with so many alternatives. You know, you've got different brands that are in the fashion industry, be it your Gucci, be it your Guess, whatever it is. So one or the other, you need to make a choice, you need to make a decision as a consumer. Therefore, consumer decision-making is the process under which consumers go through in deciding what to purchase, including problem recognition, information searching, evaluation of alternatives, making the decision, and post-purchase evaluation. So these are the steps that a consumer is involved in when you are making decisions about the product or the service that you want to get. So consumer decision-making is a cognitive process which consists of mental activities that determine what action the consumer will go through to remove a tension state caused by a need. So it always happens in the mind. So when it says a cognitive process, it's something that is in your mind, your thoughts, your memories, your experience, and so on. The consumer decision-making process is also a sequential and repetitive set of psychological and physical activities ranging from problem recognition to post-buying behavior. The role of finances and the state of the economy in consumer decision process can never be underestimated. So considering what is happening around, most people, even if you want something, you would rather sort of have a budget, you know, thinking about the things that you can afford and the things that you cannot afford. So I've realized that many people become price conscious whenever things are not going well, you know. They become price conscious, they do not want to buy things that they will not unnecessarily add value to their needs. So there you end up having a set of priorities, you know. I'm going to get this and I'm not going to get that. So finances do matter here. So there's a link there that I'd like you to play during your own time, where it talks about decision-making process and how consumer make buying decisions, you know. So it will take you to how you'd realize a need. For example, when you are thirsty, you know, the need is that you need to take some liquidity to satisfy that thirst. That's the need. However, you are surrounded with many alternatives. So you can think, right now I'm thirsty. There's water, There's soda drink, there's energy drink, there's tea. So you need to come across all those alternatives and think which one is going to satisfy my needs. Okay, so you need to go through those links, watch those videos, and you get a glimpse on what is it that you go through as an individual. And sometimes you can agree with it, but sometimes you cannot, because sometimes you don't have to follow all those set of steps, to make a decision as a consumer. For example, already it has been mentioned that there are 5 steps. So the first step is to recognize a problem. We're going to discuss that in detail. The second step is information search. So once you have recognized a problem, you then look for information to see if you are going to get a solution to that problem. So once you have searched for information, the results of that search is that you are going to be exposed to many alternatives, and you need to evaluate those alternatives. That's the third one. You need to evaluate the alternatives. Then the fourth one will be the actual buying decision. So once you've evaluated all the available options, then make a choice, and this is what I'm going to get. Then after getting whatever that you decide you're going to get, you use it, and you have got what we call post-purchase evaluation. Sometimes you do not follow those steps. Sometimes you can have information way before we have got a problem. It normally happens. You go to the mall, you come across something nice, and you think, let me get this so that tomorrow when I've got this problem, I'm going to use it. So these steps, what I'm trying to say is that these steps are not sequential. Sometimes they can be haphazard. So buying situation. When making decisions, consumers are surrounded by a number of both individual and environmental factors that play a significant role in the final outcome of the decisions making processes. I think we touched base on this during the last semester when we spoke about individual factors, when we spoke about external factors, the role of your family, for example, in what you consume, the role of your church, the role of your culture, the environmental activism that is happening out there, people being conscious of how plastic is damaging the earth, and everything, the politics, all those things you take into consideration when you are making decisions as a consumer. So in any buying situation, individuals absorb information from their external environment and integrate or combine it with their inner needs, motives, perceptions, and attitudes. The buying situation can also be influenced by past experiences. Therefore, in addition to the past product experience, anticipating future consequences of behavior may also influence the choice someone makes when buying something now. So if you bought something and it was so good, or if you bought something and it was so bitter, all that would determine how you're going to buy something in future. And I'm sure you can relate to all these things that are being discussed here. So these are the stages that are involved in the decision-making process. As indicated, these processes normally or generally, that's how they could flow. But because it's a cycle, it's something that is recurring, sometimes it cannot be sequential. So first of all, you need to identify a problem. Do I need a pair of clothes? Do I need to go and study at Boston? Do I need a car? Do I need a child? So this problem recognition does not necessarily have to do with products and services only. We are involved in decision making on a daily basis. You have got a problem that you've identified, that you are hungry. All of a sudden you feel that you are hungry, you ask yourself, do I need to cook? Do I need to order out? So that's a problem recognition. Then you go to information search. Once you know the problem. You then start looking for information, whether whatever that you have in mind is going to satisfy that problem, is going to be a solution to that problem. So you have information at your disposal. Once you've got that information, you then evaluate all the choices that are at your disposal. Once you've evaluated all the alternatives, you then make a choice. And once you make a choice, you then have what you call post-purchase evaluation. So you actually think whether the choice that you made was right or not, was sufficient or not. So these are then the stages in the decision-making process in detail. So we have got problem recognition. This is an awareness of the need to change the existing state to conform to the desired or ideal state. So once you realize that you are hungry, you know the desired state that you want to be. So you want to feel full. You want to eat. You want something to satisfy that hunger. So the process of problem recognition may vary widely depending on the effect of the various influencing factors. Then we've got the search for and processing of information. Consumer search is the cognitive and behavioral. Consumer search in the cognitive and behavioral actions that consumers engage to retrieve information on specific identified problems. Some consumers obtain information from us outside their experience to help their decision making. So information searching here is not necessarily going through the internet. Of course, it involves that. But sometimes you can also do information search within your mind, Once you realize that you need something to eat, you then make some thoughts about it in your mind, Already you are searching for that information in your mind, like maybe I can have that bacon which is in the fridge. Maybe I can have those muffins that I baked yesterday. Maybe I can have. So you are just flooded with lots of potential solutions to a problem. So that's information search. Once you are done with that, you then need to make a decision. But we are going to talk about that decision in the next lesson. So for now, you should be able to act as both a consumer and a marketer. As you gain greater insight into the consumer decision-making process, you should now be able to practice reflection and self-analysis as you try to see your own consumer behavior through marketing eyes. This lesson should have enabled you to have an in-depth understanding of why customers engage in decision-making, and you must illustrate the 5 stages in the consumer decision-making process. So we spoke about problem recognition in the previous slide. We spoke about information search. In the next lesson, we are going to talk about the remaining stages in the decision-making process, namely evaluation of alternatives, product choice, and post-purchase behavior. Thank you. If there are any questions, don't forget to contact me. My details are everywhere on Core Campus, as well as on the existing slides. Let's unpack these in the next lesson.